Wait. Sorry, I threw that together yesterday.
I'll tell you what, that's really good. That's really good.
Yeah, I threw that together yesterday.
Yeah.
I like doing my graphics.
Yeah, they're good.
So, yeah.
I like doing little graphics here and there and videos, and that's why I change it up every couple of years or year or so, just to give it a bit of a fresh feel.
Oh, that's too much work. That's way too much work. I can't do that. That's just. I did it about a year and a half ago. I changed it. I'm like, I'm not changing this again. You're gonna change over everything, and yeah, too much work.
Yeah.
I noticed you changed it over recently, though, haven't you?
Yeah. A lot of the stuff I just, when I've got like an hour or so, I just sit and sort of fiddle around with things, and that sort of cops out, and then it's like, that's really quite good. I'll change that.
Yeah.
So
I'm happy with mine. I'm
happy good. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, we'll just something I threw together. So we were asked to do this. We were doing the
Optimus
Prime review from Fan Home.
Yeah.
But somehow we seemed to get sidetracked every time we did it into talking about General Partworks.
Yeah.
So everybody came up to us and everybody was saying, why don't you just do a Partwork thing where we can discuss it? So we were like, do we? Don't we? So we decided, why not? So
yeah.
And we have had a week. It's been a week of new releases again, hasn't it? So it's
and they ain't finished. They are not finished. We've got one's confirmed. We've got the U-boat, and we've got the Lancaster. That's still to come out. We've also, no one's received the first issue yet of the DB5, so that's due out pretty soon. I don't think we've finished at Fan Home yet. I think they've got one or two. I know there's a couple of releases coming out next year that are going to excite people, but I still think they've got one or two this year still to come out.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's far from over.
Yeah. Right. Let me do this chat and then we'll get into what's happening in the week. So, we've got D Harris at 1:14 p.m. today. Goes evening, young lad. So evening, old bean.
Evening.
D says evening to Kev.
Hi, D.
One says, is that young D Harris one sees? Next, there we go. We've got D Harris says at Steve131. Don't know about the young, but a good evening, sir. We've got Scott Duggan says, evening, Kevin Mark. Hope you both had a good weekend. Yeah, not too bad.
Yeah.
Julie's in a bit of pain at the moment, so we've been sorting Julie out and stuff. So, yeah, it's been a
bit. Get to speedy recovery.
Yeah, definitely. D Harris says, evening, Scott. Why is that not come up? Oh, Scott Duggan. Right, that's it. Yeah. Next, please. Scott Duggan says, hi, D. Hope your weekend has been good. I've got Steve131 with some nice looking eyes. D Harris says, it has, Scott. Thanks. Trust yours was as good. We've got Dave Mac Bill says, good evening, everyone. Evening, Dave Mac.
Evening.
Steve131 says, hello to Dave Mac. D Harris says, a very good evening, Dave Mac Builds. Dave Mac Builds says, evening, Steve, D, and Scott. And it's jumping again. Steve131 says, Spain bound soon, D. Wow, I wish.
Yeah. Can you pack with you?
Yeah. Scott says, Mark has forgotten his own thing. No, we just started a bit late because we were talking about something, and that's the problem. We get talking, we just don't realise.
I know, yeah. I need to come on like half hour before we go live.
Yeah. He says less than 2 weeks, mate, and counting. We've got Will's Workshop. Says good evening,
Hi,
all.
Will.
How is everyone? Hi, Will.
Hi, Will.
We've got Steve131 with the smiley sunny face. I wish. Dave Mac Bill says, evening, Mark and Kev. Evening, Dave Mac.
Evening, Dave.
Steve131 is waving to Will. We've got Spider Sprewing says, hi, peeps. Hi, JP.
Hi.
Dave Mac Bill says, hi, Sprue. D Harris says, at Steve131, don't worry, any streams I'll be on. Yeah, well, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't even need to tell D about my streams. He just knows they're there. Got DS Model says, hi, everyone. Hi, Kevin Mark. Hi, Dave.
Hi, Dave.
And then we've got Steve131 with a thumbs up. We've got D Harris says, evening, Sprue. Dave Matt Bill says evening to Dave. Steve 131 says evenings to Dave. D.A. Harris says at DS Models, evenings to Dave. We've got Building with the Boys says evening, gentlemen. Evening,
Hi,
Scott.
Hiya.
Facebook user says hi, fellas. Hope all is well. That hasn't come with the name, but hello on Facebook. Facebook user says, Kevin, are you waiting? Oh, wait.
AEW. No, I'm not watching it. No, I know there's a few of my friends that are there live, but I'm not a big AEW. Well, I say that I watch it, but I don't get the pay.
D. Harris says evening, Scott at Building with the Boys. Building with the Boys says evening, D. Dave Matt Bill says evening, Scott. We've got Jason from Mr. Fusion Design says how well. Mr. Fusion.
Who's watching AEW? I'm not. I'm here, but I don't pay for the pay-per-views. I'll catch up with it. Oh, don't you worry.
D. Harris says at Mr. Fusion Designs, good evening. We've got John's Model Making says evening all. Evening, John.
Evening, John.
Mr. Fusion Design says I'm not a big AEW person too. And D. Harris says, and evening, John. Right, so yeah, you'll know more about the RoboCop than I do because you built part of it.
I did build part of it, and the story behind why I stopped it was because one, I knew it was coming out in the UK. I was told a long time ago that there were about 8 months ago. I was told that it was coming out, and then I was building mine, and my brother was also building it. Both of us from France. My brother got ill and went to hospital and couldn't build it, and I was up to issue. I think it was up to issue 77 or something I was on. But I hadn't filmed any of that yet. And my brother came out of hospital and he wanted to build it again. He's a bigger RoboCop fan than me. So I said, he said he was going to sell up. And I said, don't do that. What I will do is we'll sell your build, which was up to 20 or 30 or something. And I said, you can have my build and you can continue it through France. And then when it comes in the UK, I'll do it then. And he said, are you sure? And I went, yeah, you know. So he's up to issue 89 now, which he's getting from France because that's the issue they're up on. Ooh. And I am going to be hopefully starting it with Fan Home. Well, I'll get a phone call on Tuesday. I'm having a phone call meeting with them on Tuesday. So I'm hoping I'll be building it through them. If not, I'll be getting it anyway. So,
wow.
But that's what's happening with that. But yeah, it's impressive. It's better than the Iron Man, 100% better than the Iron Man. All the outer armor, everything that you see on it silver is die cast. Everything.
Right.
Even the hands are die cast as well. I mean, it's a real heavy thing, and it's well put together. Much better than the Iron Man.
Okay.
So.
We always used to have a laugh with this one because when you were building that one, we always used to say to you, is the RoboCop going to actually speak French?
There was a big thing in France. So the understanding was originally first started. Originally, it was going to speak in English because that's the only way that they could get the licensing. And then around about issue 50 or 60, they said it's going to be in French. Then when it came out, it's in English.
Right.
And it makes, if you get it from France, it'll be in English. If you get it in Germany, it'll be in English. The reason it's in English is because it saves them money. So it means, because obviously when they do the movie, they do it in his voice, but then when they do it in France, it's dubbed. So they would have to get the voice actors agreement to dub it, where if they get the original RoboCop one, the English version, they don't have to. And it meant that if it was coming out in other countries, preferably UK and US, it meant that they wouldn't have to redo the boards or anything. They can use the same one. So it came down for pricing, and that's why it's English. it hasn't gone down very well in France. Let's put it that way. They are not happy about it.
Okay.
But it is what it is.
can't please everybody, I suppose.
No.
So another one we've seen is the U96 by Hachette, which is going to be coming out in September, I believe.
Yeah. There was I did speak to Wilder Wayne about this because there was a bit of confusion because he said that Lancaster was in September, and I said that's another build, which I sort of had an inkling about it. I knew it wasn't anything sci-fi, but my contact said the 27th of December, which is the Wednesday after Christmas, which they always release. The Wednesday after Christmas, they always do a release. The Tumblr was it last year. And they've done other ones as well. And I was told that was the Lancaster's date. And so me and Wayne had a bit of discussion, and he said, I think you may be right. So obviously now we know that the U-boat is definitely coming out. So
I heard Lancaster was end of year, so that's what I was going under the presumption of.
That
will be end of year, new year release.
Yeah, it's going to be their like end of year, new year release, which is normal. I think the release date in the newsagents is the 27th of December, which is normally when it goes. Like when the website normally goes live just before Christmas, and then you start getting the adverts on the TV just after Christmas. But they always do like a Christmas release, don't they? Straight after Christmas, they get straight in there. And I think it's Lancaster. Also, as well, talking about Lancaster, I found out a lot of info about it. Obviously, it's coming out on the 27th, but it's had a major redesign.
Oh.
So it won't look like the test build at all. I said, will it come with the diorama base? And they couldn't tell me about that. But they did say it's had a major rework. So I don't know what that means, whether that's they've changed some of the material or what they're using in it, or if they changed the motors. I don't know.
Well, I think a lot of people are hoping that they've learned by the Spitfire and maybe have had to put it back for a redesign of the electrics, because they won't admit that the Spitfire had anything wrong with it, but it did have a lot wrong with it. I built that, and
and lots of people did. And even with the fix that they said, it still didn't fix the problem. So it was to do with the landing gear, I believe, wasn't it? Landing gear and motor.
There was the landing gear, motor, and the wire that pulled up the landing gear. That's what a lot of people had problems with. But there was other problems with it as well. Motors weren't working. My undercarriage isn't working at the moment. And the other thing that's not working on it is the flight isn't possible because it just goes into positions where it'll just damage itself.
So you're going to have... I'm hoping that they've sorted out a lot of them. I'm hoping that they've sorted a lot of those problems out, because the way that they've done the Lancaster is obviously at startup, it starts with engine 1 and then goes 2, 3, 4 before they all start. And it's a worry that I have with a lot of Partworks is when they start fiddling about. It's great to have all these little little electrics, but they tend to don't put them like simply in. And what they do is they create a bit of a mess. I mean, look at the electrics on the DeLorean for starters. Well, I mean, it's all over the place, and it doesn't really work, and it's all over. And I just think sometimes it's great to have these electrics, but they're not simple, and then they overwork it. So it's all everywhere, and then you're trying to find what wires don't work. I mean, we've had the same problem with the Knight Rider as well, with the scanner, because it's got a lot of electrics on there. And the scanner's not working properly and all of that. And it's just, and like I said, they don't use high grade electrics like Arduinos and all that because they cost money. They use very cheap electrics. And as you know, with cheap electrics, they fail all the time. So, especially if you get a bad batch.
My DeLorean electrics are okay, fingers crossed. But the advantage I had with my DeLorean is I could see all the problems that had happened when it got released and as people were building it, and I could correct it along the way. I could modify it along the way, so I didn't have to break back into it, change electrics around, put power mods in. anything like that, I could do it as it came, which isn't a bad way to build, actually, because you can see the mistakes. One of the mistakes I remember on mine was the doors. So once the hinges on the door, the screws were breaking them. And somebody suggested to use some different screws. Again, something I changed. I made sure I used the correct screws that people advised to use. I've had no problems with my doors. So that is the advantage of going after people have gone before you, really.
Yeah.
When you're doing, say you're currently with the doll's house and somebody says, damn, we should have done that differently, or that would have been a lot easier if we did that. It's hard when you're going blind into a build.
Yes,
so
especially when you're following their instructions, because I sometimes find that some of the instructions in the books you're given aren't necessarily the best. It's sort of you could. I mean, we've built so many partworks now. You can look at a partwork and go, well, that can go in easier than it says in the magazine. You know, we're like, why have they done that? And it's a bit, why have they said that when actually you could probably not do that and do it this way? It's an easier way. So I've found that out with the doll's house. Yeah, like we're fitting some of the windows on the upper bit where I put them in before putting the walls into Peter Pan's room. Yeah, after you've done that, you then have to put the windows. And I thought, well, why, you've got them already? Why don't we just do it now? And then it saves sort of trying to cram in there with your big hands and all of that. So I just found it a lot easier.
I think a lot of people prefer just to go by the instructions. That's the first thing they see and think that's gospel, instead of looking ahead and saying, well, hang on a minute, I could do that easier. I just did the rear flux bands on the DeLorean, and I did the first ones gospel to the magazine. And when it came to do the other side, because I did it all in one video, it was like, well, hang on a minute, I don't have to put that piece in there, which means it's not going to be falling out on me there. I can then put, and it was just a different way of doing it, which worked out a lot quicker, but the method was so much easier once you've got it in your head. But if you're looking at it as in you're not seeing it before, so you say, right, got to do this, got to do it. You're going to go sort of gospel with the instructions unless you can actually think about it and go, that would be easier doing it that way. That would be easier doing it that way.
That's why I like doing the figure builds, because you always have one side where all the mistakes have happened. Like the left hand and the left leg is where all the mistakes happen, and the right hand and the right leg is like perfect because you've learned from the other two how to do it better. That's what I tend to do anyway. That happened with the Terminator and the Alien build, where I done one hand and I was like, I could do this differently, and I did it differently on the other hand. It's like, well, that was better than the left one, so I've got one dodgy left arm and one good right arm, sort of thing.
You are, in hindsight, is a massive word in these.
Yes, definitely.
Things. Right, I'll just catch some of this chat because it's sort of run away. I'm going to try and just I'll skip the hellos to people. So we've got Yorkshire Crafter says, "Evening everyone, hi love."
Hi, Jude.
Watching from bed. We've got Crafty Chris says, "Good evening, Kev, Mark, and all in chat."
Hi, Chris.
Evening, Christine. I'm just trying to go through it because we've got a lot. Jason says, I'm up to 89 on the RoboCop.
Yeah, that's the last issue to come out over in France. They should be finished the end of October.
Right. Steve131 says 80s RoboCop. There is only really one RoboCop. I wouldn't have call the redo RoboCop, really.
No. There's only one real RoboCop, and that was the original 1980s Robo.
Yeah. John's Model Making says U-Boat goes live 12th of September.
Yeah.
Now, I quite like the idea of the U-Boat. I did sign up for interest in it, but it's whether I can financially do another one. That's my problem.
Yeah, there's a lot.
So it's,
I had a discussion
coming out at Fan Home.
I had a discussion with Scott over the weekend about this, and I think we think the market's flooded now. You ain't seen nothing yet, because what we know, what I've been told, what's coming out next year, there's gonna be some real tough decisions to be made.
Yeah.
What's coming out?
Steve131 says, Max Modz, you going to do the Lank? Hopefully am, yes. Hopefully
no.
I am going to do it. I knew the Lank was coming, and I kind of planned for that one, so yeah. But when you don't know what's coming and they're going to flood you, then you're like, yeah. Maybe I need
there's going to be a lot of surprises, I think, next year.
Yeah. So we've got Mr. Tamiya 89. Let me get this right. This is emojis, so don't ask me. Sanitizer, hand sanitizer, wash hands and shelter.
Okay.
It's been a long weekend.
Yeah.
Dear. Right. Will's Workshop says, would be good to see some of the old Partworks revamped, not see many aimed at children. I built a Nitro RC car and a robot as a kid. So,
yeah, D'Agostini did. D'Agostini did the Hummer, which was an RC car.
Got that.
Yeah. Yeah, and they also did a robot as well, Robbie the Robot, it was called, and it was quite modular, so it could do loads of sort of cool things and all of that. But they've never re-released them.
And they also did the Red Bull Racer.
Yes. Yeah.
Which I built. So
yeah, they've done a load.
They were D'Agostini, but they were Model Space.
Yeah, I know Model Space is. Well, sort of up again, isn't it? Sort of, it's been revamped into D'Agostini. It's been melded into it, and I do know that they're planning on re-releasing a lot of the stuff that they did before. So
yeah,
those ones that we've just mentioned could possibly come back. So
does it just feel that Harsher are just making everything into metal that was what they released wooden?
Yeah, I think what's happened is like techniques have got better, cheaper materials. So I think that they've just sort of gone, especially with the Titanic. You know, they did the wooden one first, and then the Bismarck did so well that they went, well, we could make the Titanic like this, and they've just done that. So there's a lot of potential there, I think, to make ships more die-cast.
Yeah. Okay, Mr. Tamiya 89 says, someone said that you can fix a problem with the front scanner for kit. Stephen says, come on.
Yeah, there are a few fixes. The fix that Fanhome give you tells you to chop out a circuit on the board, C3 I think it is. But there's other ways around it. There's on the board, you've got all the things plugged in, but there's one that isn't, and you can plug the scanner into that as well. There's a free port you can put it in, but it only affects it only affects a batch of scanner boards. So if you're late to the game like I am, I'm hoping that the board that I get isn't one of the knackered ones, and it works all right. Otherwise, I'm going to have to try one of their techniques.
Right. So JP says, what I don't like is putting a part in and then later taking them out again. The Eiffel Tower has a lot of them. Yeah.
Yeah, that was this week's one. All I had this week got in issue, I think it was issue 3 for the Dodge Charger. And we put this bit on in issue 3. We had to take it off to put this little hook on. So we had to take out all the 8 screws just to put in that one bit and screw it all back together again.
Mm-hmm.
And the Knight Rider as well. We've just built the engine, but I think in the next pack I've got to take it all apart again to put something on it. And we've just put it together. I hate all that.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why if I'm doing a vehicle So if I'm doing like the DeLorean, the Ecto one, and the other one I'm doing, I won't put the wheels on until we're told to put that fourth wheel on.
Yeah, that's another thing as well. With the Dodge Charger, when it comes to fitting the body on, we have to take the front wheels off.
Yeah.
And they're already on the car. So, yeah. I always find that I'm really scared with that because I'm afraid that it's going to thread the screw hole.
That's why. I mean, I know a lot of people have been saying like the Eddie Stobart, they have not put the wheels on the Eddie Stobart yet, but I think maybe they are holding out right till the end because of the weight of the model.
Yeah.
To put the wheels on last so the threads don't get damaged, and, you know, it just makes more sense to do it that way.
Yeah.
Than doing it right at the beginning where you might. I remember the Ecto one, we had to take a wheel off to do the electrics when we put the outer casing on the chassis.
Yeah.
So again, we had to do that, and then you're putting them back on. You're not going to get them as tight as you did at the first time because that was obviously cutting into the thread. It just makes sense just to wait until maybe the end and then put the wheels on the vehicles.
Yeah.
So that's why I wait on mine and do it as soon as I know I don't have to take them up again.
Yeah.
What gets me is, and I've said this in my DeLorean videos over the last few that I've done, turning models upside down when you've got delicate pieces on top.
I don't know why they keep doing that. They go, right, now you tip the model over, and the next issue, you've got to do it again. It's like...
Honestly.
I think the worst thing is when you tip it and you hear rattling. You're like, what is that?
Yeah.
Where is that?
The worst one, I have to admit, was the Ecto one. And the reason for that is we had them blue spotlights in all four corners on the roof. And if you slightly knocked them, break. Why we couldn't have just maybe glued them or pushed them in after, I really, really don't know. But they should have found a better way. I had to get 2 blocks of foam, have them positioned together, have the middle part of the roof on the foam just to turn it upside down.
Yeah. It's when you do the electrics, some of the electrics as well, I find are very, very tight when you're trying to close it all together and put them together. I find it's very tight.
Yeah.
And I'm like, they should have left a little bit of slack. Why is this so tight, you know?
Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Steve131 says, thanks why don't sound good. Scott Duggan says, Kev, any chance on some clues to new upcoming builds?
Clue. An old TV show. I suppose I could say that. Todd might be the better one to like layer clues on. I can't give away too much. And let's just put it this way: if you're into TV, there's a lot of stuff coming out next year. If you're into sci-fi TV, there's a lot of stuff coming out next year. You'll be very happy. And I know a lot of people. I know there's a build coming out that a lot of people wanted and have been shouting from the rooftops for, and it's coming out. So just watch this space. But like I said to you, and like I said to Scott as well, there's going to be a crunch point next year because we're going to be taking on these builds, and then something else is going to come out, and we're like, I can't get it, and I really, really want it. And I think we're gonna come to that point very, very soon. Yeah,
it's definitely flooding the market.
Yeah.
Will's Workshop says, I think this is the RoboCop. The original is the best, but I really did enjoy the reboot.
The reboot wasn't bad, but yeah, you're talking about a film that was done in the 80s to a film that was done in 2012. You know, it's the same argument that, you know, as a Star Trek fan, it's the same argument we have in Star Trek. You know, with the new series, Strange New Worlds. Why does it's an era before James Kirk, so it's an era before the original Star Trek, and they're saying, well, why doesn't it look like that? Well, that was done in 1960s. If they had the budget and the money, it would look like it does now. And
it's a bit like Disney and Star Wars. Oh, we're bringing out a new TV series, what part of the TV series are you going to put it in the timeline? Because I honestly thought Ahsoka would be after the Clone Wars.
No.
It's the Empire.
No,
I thought that.
I believe it takes place when the Mandalorian season 3 was on. I believe it's either then or just after Mandalorian season 3. It's around that time.
It's just a guessing game with Disney. When they're gonna, what part are they gonna put in this?
Yeah,
I mean, there's a rumor there's going to be another Obi-Wan Kenobi series. How can you top the first one? You know?
Yeah, I mean, the first series was good, and they should just leave it. But I think it done so good that they're like, well, we can't just leave it. We have to make some money off of this. So I don't know where they would go from that.
Spend some money sorting out the timeline after Return of the Jedi. That's all I can say.
The reason is, I think the reason they've done it is because they've done the original films, and then they've done the prequels as well, which were before, and then they done the newer films with Rey and that, and there was a big gap between the last film and the start of the Skywalker saga. There was like a big gap, so they're trying to fill up that gap. What happened? What happened when the Republic, rose up? Where did the other stormtroopers come from, and all that sort of stuff? I think it's trying to fill in those gaps. But I think the one you really want to watch, there was an old video game. It's called The Old Republic. So The Old Republic is like the start of the Star Wars universe sort of thing. It's where there was tons of Jedis, tons of Siths as well, and it was like the first war. And apparently they're doing a series on that. That would be really, really, really interesting.
I'll have to see then.
But if you type in, there's some good like cinematic things that they did for the game. It's called The Old Republic. Yeah. If you can watch them on YouTube, you'll be blown away.
Okay, we've got Burgess in. Says, hey,
hi Burgess.
D says, Mark, you glitched slightly. Yeah, I think I've sorted it. It doesn't help when I've got a 20-year-old that's on PlayStation. Dave Mark, I can totally agree with this. After doing the Spitfire, it puts me off doing the Lancaster. All I can say is I just hope that they've sorted the electrical problems out. I think the one thing we didn't get with the Spitfire was a proper test board throughout the entire build. Yeah,
all I know is that it's definitely coming out. It's the Christmas one, and it's had a redesign. So don't be surprised if it doesn't have features that were on the last one that aren't on this one, if you know what I mean. Yeah. Including the diorama, because that diorama piece was magnificent, really. It was like awesome. It had the wave effect, the sea effect sort of thing, and it also had the thing. I'm wondering whether they might have overpriced that. Yeah. But I'm not too sure. But I do know as well, when it is released, it'll be following the same subscription model as the Tumblr. Right. So you'll get 6 issues every 6 weeks. And you'll be ahead of the news agents as well.
I'm going to say unless you get it from the shops. Yeah. The other thing that we didn't mention was a new trial that started.
Yeah.
So I don't know anything about the Mad Max films. I haven't got a clue what even.
No, I've watched them. They're one of those films that I've watched, but I wouldn't say I was a fan of, or I mean, it's one of those films where if I was flicking through the channel with nothing to watch, I'd watch it if it was on. But I'm not a big fan of it. It's a no from me. But there was a few things I did find out about it. One, they haven't got the Mad Max license. That's why it just said Ford Falcon, even though clearly it's from the Mad Max films. I also know that they were premature in releasing the test field, the video, and the website, which I believe the website has gone down now. Maybe that's to do with licensing. I'm not too sure, but the website was live for about 12 hours and then was taken off. But we are in the test. We are in the test. The sort of the test area now. We're in the test field, so tests normally start from September to April. So you're going to see a lot of tests happening, I think, from now until then. It's going to be flooded.
I can't see that coming to market. The reason I can't see that coming to market is we didn't get a General Lee, and that got tested. And that was well over a year ago. And now I would have thought that would have been more popular. Plus, it did come out in Germany, did that.
Yes.
So I would have thought that would have been more. I mean, the reason I know that was a test because it was around my area, so I could actually get issue 1 of that.
Yeah.
But the other reason I know is it was in Germany, so it wouldn't be. Well, obviously, they do have to try and get the license for this country.
Yeah.
But it probably had more of a chance with it being released in Germany. A bit like the Optimus Prime, really, for Fan Home.
Yeah.
We do know it was released in the Europe before it's been released here in the UK.
Yeah, well, Europe will still have test runs with D'Agostini and Hachette. Over here in the UK, we only have them through Hachette. We don't get tests for any other company now. So it's going to be interesting. But there was another one that was tested that never came out. Obviously, that was the Harry Potter Hogwarts Express. Everyone wanted, and they went no. I think it was licensing. I also think as well with that one, there was controversy around the time it came out. So it came out during COVID. It was tested. And secondly, as well, it came out when just after it was released, it came out that obviously there was all that problem with J.K. Rowling, and obviously everyone went anti J.K. Rowling. And I think they put a kibosh on it, really. The other thing as well was the Tiger Tank. King Tiger Tank that they previewed.
That came out in Germany, though, didn't it?
It did come out in Germany. It was tested last year or the beginning of this year, and it's never come out. I don't know what's happened with that, but it came out before the U-boat. So remember that. Yeah. So it's probably we're not going to get it.
It's hard to predict. I mean, I would have thought. You remember the lunar module?
Yeah.
That was a test. That looked really interesting, but I don't think we're going to get that either.
No, that one has been tested a number of times, actually, 3 or 4 times, I do believe. And then we also had a test in Europe for the ISS that never went any further.
No.
We also had a test for the AT-AT that never went any further. That was because that came out around about the COVID time as well. That was tested. That never materialised.
I looking at the AT-AT, that looked really big. I mean, really good. It was the size of a Doberman.
Yeah.
How they could get that in budget is beyond me.
And then the other one they tested as well was the Star Destroyer. And there was a lot of hype for that one, but they've not released it. No. So there was a lot of releases. A lot of tests recently they've done that they've never revisited. So
okay. We've got John Bill's iconic military model says good evening John.
Evening John.
Steve saying hi to John. Right, Scott says I thought I was going to save money now. I've got my last DeLorean delivery, but now Robocop is taking the spare cash. That's the problem. You've got to kind of be picky and choosy of what you're going to build. You build what interests you, and unless a company says, "Look, would you like to build this for us?" Then if you got to spend your budget on what you really like, and that's what I've done. Luckily, I've worked out a lot. Go on.
The 3 rules: BTS. I know it's a group, but bear with me. Budget, space, interest. Yeah.
So good idea, though. But
space. Space is another one as well, I should say. But you've got. I say BTS because it's space. So it's budget, interest, space. Because I'm running out of space really. That's why I want to do a lot of the figures. Right. I've decided I'm going to do the Batman figure. So that should be out beginning of next year. So I'm hoping.
Yes,
it's definitely coming. Yeah.
Okay. Will's Workshop says it was the robot called Cybot and the car was an Astra. Both, I'm thinking, were D'Agostini. I still have the RC car. I thought the robot for Model Space D'Agostini was Robbie.
Yeah, it was Robbie the robot.
So I don't know who that was done by then.
It might have been done by another company. There was,
yeah,
you're going back years now. I don't know whether it was done by another company, but they did do Robbie the robot. They might have done one before then, but I do remember Robbie the robot.
Yeah. Steve131 said Matt Bills, let Mark be a Pathfinder then decide. We got Peter Webster says hi Kev, Mark and all in chat. Hi Peter.
Hi Peter.
I'm just being very selective and just trying to get through this. Right, Scott Duggan says, does anyone know if Jay is okay? Not released a video on his Sturbat in a few months.
Yeah, Jay's okay. I've spoken to him through Messenger. He's okay. He's taken a step back.
Both me and Kev are in contact with Jay. We can tell you that. He's had quite a lot going on over the last 6 months. A lot going on over the last 6 months. And it's kind of got to him, and he's needs some time away and space away from things. And I'm sure he'll be back soon, doing his usual, and stuff like that. He's just taking space. We all need it at the end of the day, but he's okay. And I'm in contact with him every day. And I think you are, Kev, as well, aren't you?
Yeah. I check in when I can. And he's like saying, it's just taking a little step back at the minute. I'm sure he'll be back in his own time.
Will's Workshop says, I want to do the Ecto as possibly my next build as I'm coming to the end of the DeLorean. Oh, I'll do it.
Yeah, the Ecto is a good build.
If you want the heaviest Partwork that's on the market in weight, the Ecto one, because we're talking about 15 kilograms at the end of it, which works out heavier than the Routemaster.
Oh, Jesus, that is heavy, that one.
I've got it on my shelf. Good job, them things can take about 80 kilograms.
I was going to say, I think the last thing that was on the shelf that fell off was Wayne's X-Wing, weren't it? It took a no dive.
Oh, no, I felt, I felt so sorry for Wayne and his X-Wing. Anybody who built that X-Wing knows we went through a lot with that X-Wing building it.
I'm sure there'll be a chance to build that again soon.
Ah, right.
Wink, wink.
I'm not building another.
One's enough.
People who built it, they'll know the emotional roller coaster of doing 4 engines, doing 4 laser cannons, doing 4 wings. Some people just decided, nope. Some, like myself and Wayne, we decided, you know what? I'm going to stick to it. I'm going to build it. I'm going to complete it. To see what happened to it, oh, gosh, it was awful. We've got Danielle down South Stitcher says, just stopping by to say hi. Hi, Danielle.
Hi, Danielle.
And then we've got all the cross-stitch ladies are coming in from Julie's side. So we've got cross-stitch for Orchid, send you. Steve131 says, sci-fi TV, young Matt, going to be spending the pennies. Oh, I know. How much is a kidney these days? I don't know. You know what? I could get the rest of the packs for the Miura if I really want. If something came out and I said, you know what, I really want to do that, but I need to ease something, I could probably maybe say to Agora, right, I'll pay for the rest of the packs. Just send me them, and I'll pay up front, because you can get it as a complete build. So I would presume with Agora, as long as you're willing to pay the money, they'll send you the next lot of packs and finish your subscription off early. That I would be willing to do if there was something that came here and I went, I don't know what happened there. My connections were My connection.
Oh, right, okay. I don't know what happened. Why did it freeze?
I don't have a clue. I think it's StreamYard. So yeah, I can always do that.
Yeah.
Peter just says, I'm hoping to do the Lancaster. I've missed out on the Spitfire. So yeah, I would. I mean, it's something I definitely want to do, is the Lancaster. And
I'm surprised Agora haven't released the Spitfire. I know they did the Zero.
I think Agora haven't touched the Spitfire because of the problems with it.
Right.
I think, especially when their main builder had problems.
Yeah.
If their main builder, who's doing the videos for them, has had problems, and then everybody else is having the reported problems, I don't think Agora would have touched it. I think they can afford to be selective in what they take on, and I think with that they probably would have said, no, that's a little bit too much. Yeah,
I know the reason they haven't done the Batmobile is because they couldn't acquire the license.
Right.
I did find that out. So they approached Warner Brothers for the license and they were unable to acquire it. That is why the Tumbler hasn't been released from them yet, and why probably the Batman figure won't either. But I would imagine they're working on that, so they could bring it out at any time. Yeah. I mean, it did take them a while to bring out the Route Master.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Scott says the General Lee has a huge Confederate flag on its roof. It ain't going to get a release. No, that's true.
No, I think it doesn't have that flag on the top. If I remember rightly, when they were building it in Germany, it never came with any design on the top. I think it was just a white roof.
That's the same with the Bismarck. The Bismarck didn't come with the what do you call it? But there was a very nice company out there that gave you the option if you wanted to get them and put them on.
Yeah, and I would imagine that would be the same with the General Lee as well. But it did, if I remember rightly, when it was being built through Germany, it came with a white roof. It didn't come with a flag on it. Yeah, so there's ways around it. But yeah.
We're getting into trouble here, Kev, because Burgess has called us out. You mean the Starsky and Hutch El Torino?
Yes. You're right.
No. Steve,
the El Torino.
Do you think they'll put the rebel flag on the General now? Doubt it.
No.
Very much doubt it.
Right.
Burgess says King Tiger is in full run in Germany, as is the U-boat. So, yeah.
I know the U-boat's definitely coming out, but the King Tiger one was on a test run here before that one. I think it was like the same time last year. It may still come out, I don't know. But it's not a British tank, but then neither was the Bismarck. So
no.
And that did fairly well. So
Will's Workshop says, I would have done the Hogwarts Express. I've just dusted off a couple of Harshett Partworks, the Zero Gauge Flying Scotsman and the Mallard. Second video for Mallard will be coming up tomorrow.
Yeah, they were the original ones where you had to paint them and bend the metal parts and stuff like that. I would imagine if it was released nowadays, that would all be screwed and pre-molded. But they were, back in the day, this was when they were doing the wooden ships and stuff like this. Back in the day when they did the O-gauge ones, I would imagine if they re-released them now, they would do it with all the bells and whistles. The wheels would move and it would be on a rolling track and all of that. I'm surprised they haven't capitalised on the Flying Scotsman, with it being its 100th year. I'm surprised, a company like Hachette or Agora even have gone, there's a market there, because there's a huge market for train memorabilia and for a partwork. So I
think I tried doing the Flying Scotsman, but at the time, my modelling skills weren't what they are now.
It's worth noting that Hachette did a lot of railway stuff, because they also did a full layout as well. where they did all the track, all the scenery. You could build the whole track and build like a proper train set, but it didn't supply the trains. It was just the train set with the carriages and all that stuff. But Hachette did do that.
Burgess says, I got 2 subs ending late this year and I got 6 on the short list. Wow.
Decisions.
Scott says, Cybot was the small programmable robot.
Ah, right. Okay.
Burgess says, Ian's bike had an encounter with a kid, then the floor. Oh, yeah. Ross.
Yeah, it's Rossio. Yeah.
Yeah.
Valentino, yeah.
We've got Kenneth says, afternoon from Atlanta, Georgia. How are everybody doing today? I'm sitting here working on my fan home of the Back to the Future build and got the D'Agostini Knight Rider 2000 from Japan for £950. Whoa.
Good. That's a good price.
Yeah. Kenneth also says, love everyone's videos, and it's the complete kit, 1 to 110 Knight Rider, and I'm planning on doing some of the mods for it. Wow.
Good, cool.
Scott says, I think you've confused the Zebra 3 for the General Lee.
It was the Gran Torino. We've confused ourselves. It was the Gran Torino.
I don't know that much about cars.
It was the Starsky and Hutch bum. It was the orange Starsky and Hutch.
Okay, you asked me about a sci-fi car, apart from Mad Max. Yeah, maybe. But other than that, I know nothing of cars. Scott Duggan says, I would have loved them to release the original
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle van.
Yeah, I would like an 18 van, but how much more of a van? What can you really put in a van?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Never say never. That's what I always say in Partworks. Never say never. There is one build that I'm surprised hasn't been released yet when there was a big hype for it, and that was the Morris Minor.
There was a Morris Minor, wasn't there? I know Jay were on about it. A Land Rover.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. A Range Rover as well. Yeah. Then again, you've got to think, we don't know everything that's coming out. I know IXO have got plans, and obviously we've got Agora as well. Don't think that they're just bringing out, the 007 cards, because they're bringing out a lot of other things as well.
Yeah. Building with the Boys says, good call, Scott. I'd build that. Peter West says, Lindsay's build is doing an awesome job on the Mallard build. I would have weighed it in for scrap by now. Yes. So Lindsay is doing the Mallard, which is easy. You know what? For what it was back then, which is what we're talking about 12, 13 years ago.
Yeah.
I started flying Scotsman, but I couldn't do it because my skills weren't there when you were dealing with like the brass plating and stuff. Now I would love to do it. I'd love the
bending it. Yeah, bending it and painting it and everything else. It was a proper model kit back then. Not like we have the Partworks now that are all pre-painted and everything.
Yeah. Burgess says, I put the front wheels on the Ecto yesterday. Video when I can get it edited. Oh, well, look out for that then when it comes out. Building with the Boys says, Starsky and Hutch car is the Zebra 3 Gran Torino. Okay. All I know of a Zebra is that thing that you see that has black and white things on it, or it's a cross thing.
I was going to say that the only thing I know is a Zebra is the thing on the road.
That's about as much as I know about zebras, yeah.
Yeah.
Steve131 says today, would do the Moggy? And this where we caught up. Will's Work says the 18 part work would consist of loads of parts that would never normally become a van, but somehow
the music would hit.
The van would just be created.
Yeah. It would come in yellow paint. It'd be some sort of digger, and it would then turn into the van.
Yeah. Scott Duggan said, obviously we all want the 66 Batmobile, but I think the 89 version would be awesome as well.
I think if the Tumbler does well, I think that, and they've got obviously now their relationship with Warner Brothers, there's potential to do more Batman stuff.
Yeah.
So watch this space.
Yeah. And then Spider Sprue says Harshek Germany has the DRG class 01 German steam train.
Yeah.
It looks good, thinking of doing it. Yeah.
It does look good. I've seen that. It's on the rolling road. It has steam as well, proper steam that comes out. The firebox lights up. It does look really good.
Yeah. And then Burgess says, I've got to go. See you later. Okay,
See you
night,
later.
Burgess.
See ya.
So, well, let me just start that there. So I found out, was it last Sunday? Or it might have been last Sunday before that. I've got the Partwork Awards this year.
Yes.
So I've been past it. And I need to have still need to have a meeting with Ian. Oh, I know.
Yeah.
I've passed it on. I'll still be in a meeting with Ian. Now, obviously, you take it on, you obviously want to make it bigger. You want to add something, your own little thing.
Yeah.
So if anybody's got any ideas on it at all, then if I can find it, please just email me and I'll take it on. We're obviously going to have the same categories that we had last year, apart from we won't be doing an Eagle Moth tribute. So
no, because they've already got.
Yeah, that's now passed and everything. We might do a fan home celebration just to say well done for doing what you've done. You know, it's got a lot of us out of stum. But all the other normal subjects will be there next year. I am not putting myself up for anything, though. Okay, because I'm presenting it, I am not putting myself forward for anything. So I won't be nominated in any of the categories whatsoever or anything. I mean, if Julie's is voting for something, that's fine. But anything with me, no. Okay, and that just makes it fair for people. So I think last year I've got best self modder.
Yes.
I don't know how the heck I won that. How I won that, but I'm not going to be putting myself forward for anything. I think I've got the privilege of hosting it this year, and I think that's enough as a reward for me than winning the category. So yeah, that's up to me. So if you've got any ideas, please email me. Any categories or anything like that, I'll note them down. I'm going to talk to Ian. Now, I did have an idea, but I don't know how we're going to work it because I probably have to put it under the category on YouTube of what they call a fundraiser.
Right.
Okay. Now, Kev, you haven't heard about this idea yet. So this was my idea. So we all know what Wayne's has been doing throughout the year. Raising money for Parkinson's UK.
Yes. Yeah.
So because I'm monetized, I can do like a fundraiser. And I was thinking throughout the rewards, do I put in a link that people can do the super chat and then it goes to the charity?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. That's a good idea. That's a really good idea.
So I'm going to have a word with Ian because we might be able to do it through his website as well. But I think to finish off the year, we'll do a fundraiser. And you don't have to donate. If you want to, it can be £1, it can be £5, it can be anything. And we send the money to Wayne's charity, just as I say, thank you. And this is doing our little bit for Parkinson's. Because my grandmother, she's in a home, she's got dementia. You know, she's on her last stages. It affects so many people.
Yeah.
So I think, you know, what the idea is, we'll make it a fundraiser this year and we'll donate the charity. And if that carries on to the next person doing it next year, then at least I've started something.
Yeah.
So, but I need to work out the logistics with Ian about it and then see what we can do. And I did think, though, if we did do and we raised over a certain amount, could we get Wayne to do a forfeit?
Oh, like, yeah, that'd be willing.
Like jumping into a bath of ice or something, you know, just something, something stupid or outrageous, but he's got to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really good. Yeah.
You'll probably kill me for it, but I just think if we can raise over a certain amount, put a target that night, and if we do it, Wayne's got to do a forfeit.
Yeah, 100%. That sounds like a plan.
Yeah, and then we'll see how it goes. But I think it would be a good way to get money for the charity that Wayne's been supporting all year. I mean, I've done my bit. I got my blueprint of his home and the tool for the toilet. So let's see if we can really boost that at the end of the year.
Yeah.
So that's my idea to up
Yeah.
it this year.
Definitely.
Okay, right. I'll catch up with this chat because we've done over an hour. Would you believe?
Yep.
Scott says, I think the 89 Batmobile is inevitability. Right.
Inevitability.
It's inevitability.
Yeah.
Never say never is what I say.
Yeah, I've done this long enough now to know. Never say never.
Yeah. Mr. Tamu89 says, I would like to build an Airwolf if it ever became as a Partwork.
It's been mentioned a lot of times.
It has been mentioned a lot of times. We do know they are listening to us. I think that's one of the main things. They are listening. They are listening to what we get up to. I don't know if, say, Goro or Fan Home are going to watch this back and say, oh, right, some good ideas there. Let's see if we can look into this. We don't know, but, they are listening to us. There's some, though, they'll look at and say, this is going to be an impossibility to do.
Yeah.
You've got to make it feasible. But, yeah, I'd love to see an Airwolf because we've not done a helicopter yet. So, Ken says, wow, you're all too wise and all-knowing and amazing people. Thank you, Kenneth.
Thank you, Kev. Yeah, I was going to say about the helicopter. I think people have forgotten about the Agora test or teaser video that they put out recently. It was a couple of months ago when they done a shadow and you could see it was the rotor of a helicopter.
Yeah, but is it a helicopter? That's the thing. That's the thing. Yeah.
We'll find out. But that was teased a while ago, so yeah.
Kenneth says, I'll be getting my Knight Rider first before I get my IXO collection of the Nissan GT-R35. So, John Bill's Iconic Mills Modz says, the Mallard and Flying Scotsman are still available from DGH, but the kit costs around $5,000.
Yeah.
I built loads of commission trains around 15 years ago. Wow.
Yeah. So, there's a big market for train stuff, and I'm surprised they haven't capitalized on that, or at least revisited some of those older ones.
Mr. Tommy for 89 puts up yes, smiley face, big thumbs up. I think that's to the Partwork Awards. Bill and Boy says, in the event of a tie in the category, 2-man sack race to determine the winner.
Yeah.
Peter Werther says, I have a Duke of Gloucester classed 00 gauge DGH kit to build, John. Wow. That's it, John. And John says, the Partwork kits are based of the G. I'm not going to say it again, of the models.
Of the models, yeah.
D. Harris says, good call, Mark. Fundraiser, yes. Steve says, Wayne would do a forfeit. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
If we get over a certain amount, he's got to do something. He's got to do it, film it, and put it up on his channel and just say, yeah, we did it. Peter says, I'm building a 700 size RC Airwolf with retracts TAM. So, wow.
That's going to be mega.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Harris says, there was a helicopter advertisement not long ago.
That was the Agora one we were talking about.
Yeah, that's kind of caught up. So,
cool. Okay.
So, yeah, if you want to email me, just email me on that below. And we'll talk about it. Like I said, I need to talk to Ian about a couple of things for this awards this year.
Yeah.
When do you want to do one of these again, Kev? In a couple of weeks?
Yeah, a couple of weeks. It's completely up to you. I'm available, so
we'll do it in a couple of weeks because if we do it every week, we might forget things. Oh, we might run out of stuff to talk about. But we probably won't know. There's a lot of stuff going to be coming our way in the next couple of months. So there's going to be a lot to talk about. Definitely, but yeah, it's nice to chat with you about this. And
100%. Yeah.
So, okay, right. I'll let you say your goodbyes then, because it's been
then. Thank you, guys.
I really enjoyed it.
Well, as always, it's great.
Hang on a minute. I've got D and Steve saying weekly here.
Weekly.
Oh, we'll see. Me and Kev will talk about it. See if we've got enough content for for a week.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. So it's a good night for me. Thank you everybody for tuning in. Tomorrow night would normally be the Disney Dolls House with Crafty Chris and Yorkshire Crafter at 7. That has actually been cancelled because Yorkshire Crafter's not too well at the moment. But hopefully she'll be back next week. So we'll do your ending, Kev. So I've been Mark.
I've been Kev.
And we'll catch you all next time. Bye.
See you next time, guys.
Bye.